The biggest question I get is, so when do you rest? When do you recover?
Yeah.
And I don't want to scare people, but the truth answer is, I don't take any days off.
No days.
No days.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
There's these monks that I forget what they're called. They're like the running monks or whatever, and they have to run a marathon every single day, or they have to kill themselves, and they have to do this for like 10 years. There's some crazy shit out there. When we talk about rest and recovery, we're just weak. We're just wimps.
The unfulfilled potential is the story of most people's lives.
It is. It is. And it could have been the story of mine. And I tell a lot of people go, what's your biggest fear in life? And my biggest fear, honestly, was
is there any wisdom like coming from either from the mind or a felt sense where these boundaries are, where to stop when it's time to relax properly and get back to effort and vice versa?
So you're not going to like this answer. None of you guys are going to like this answer, but the answer is there is no time. There is no balance. That's an illusion. That when you divide your life into balance, like to rest and work, what ends up happening is that you prefer one thing over the other, and some of your life is getting through it, and some of your life is what you're trying to get to. Whereas you want to live your whole life, integrate the whole thing.
Think of it this way. Okay, so if if you're a typical person, right, you've got 24 hours in the day, and 8 of those hours you're going to spend sleeping, probably, right? That leaves you at 16. And then, you're supposed to work 8 hours a day. You got to commute an hour, maybe 10 hours for work. So you're left with 6 hours a day. So are you going to live your life in 6 hours a day? Is that a life that you want? And then the weekends and that's it? So how much of your life are you wasting if you do that? Don't compartmentalize your life. Don't separate your life. Your work is part of your life, right? Who you are, being a software developer or whatever, an entrepreneur, that's part of you and that's part of your life. And it's a critical part of your life. It's going to permeate. It should permeate all areas of your life, just like who you are personality-wise and your hobbies and interests should permeate your work life. If you think about it, if you have problems at home, if you're having problems in relationships, if you're having problems, it's going to carry over to work. If you're having problems at work, it's going to carry over to home. If you create those lines, those separate lines, that's going to be an issue, right? And you're not ever going to enjoy your life, and you're not ever going to enjoy your work, and your life is always on hold for some reason, and you're never quite happy, and you never quite can achieve that balance, and you're just not going to be as successful, right? You want to be able to throw yourself into everything that you're doing and to live in the present moment all the time.
What is the difference between work and play? It is our perception of the thing. So, for example, let's say that you had this job of doing construction. You got to do, lift heavy bags of cement and boards and all kinds of stuff, right? It's heavy labor. That's work, okay? Let's suppose that after work, you're done working and you go and you play pickup basketball with some of your buddies, okay? Or you go to your softball league or whatever and play softball, right? And you're having fun, okay? It's not work anymore. It's fun. It's still exercise. You're working just as hard. You might be working harder, but you consider it to be fun because you're playing a game. But it's really just because you've decided that you've made that into a game, something entertaining. You've decided in your mind, right? So that's the first place to start, is when we talk about rest, it's very subjective. There is no clear definition. I can make something to become work or hard or not, right? And sometimes I can run my days like crazy and I get a sense of renewal from accomplishing so much in a day, right? From going from task to task, from getting shit done and just going, right? And I can just keep going. Try to make it so that the work that you're doing, that you gamify it, that you enjoy it. The construction job can be just as fun as to pick up basketball if you gamify it, if you're having a good time when you're doing this, right? When I'm working right now on my Pomodoro and recording these videos and doing the work, I'm excited to get up, right? If I make that choice, I can put myself in that mindset. I can put myself in the mindset where I dread it, but I can make this a fun game. Like, this is a fun game. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can build this channel and grow this business, and this can be fun and exciting. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have to slog through hard work. I mean, when I was running 15 miles yesterday, some of it was fun and some of it was, hey, you're running for 2.5 hours. But what you think that you need in order to rest and recover, it's bullshit. Like, you haven't worked hard. You don't even know. You're not exhausted. You just think you are, right? A lot of it is just mental.
Here's an example I'll give you. Let's suppose that you sent to prison, to a labor camp where you have to pound rocks for 8 hours a day, right? That would probably suck, right? Your very first day, after an hour, you'd be like, I have to do 7 more hours of this, and then I have to do this the next day. I might as well just kill myself because there's no way I could possibly do this. Ridiculous, right? That's probably the mindset you'd have. But you'd somehow make it through the day. The next day would be horrible. You'd be like, oh, I'm so tired from yesterday, right? I still got to do this shit. I got to do this for 20 years, right? The next day would also probably be horrible. But after about 3 weeks, you'd get up in the morning, you'd pound your rocks for 8 hours, you'd go to bed. It would seem like a normal day, right? So we accommodate to the level of workload that we put under us. And I know this from personal experience because there's been times in my life where I was a lazy bastard and I didn't do much at all. And just getting up in the morning to go to a super easy job where I basically didn't hardly do any work at all was an effort. And I was exhausted every day. And I was like, this is some bullshit. And like the idea of going to the gym on top of that was just like, no way, there's no way. So I've gone from that to where I was running 60, 70 miles a week, lifting for 2 hours, 3 times a week, while working 10 to 12 hours on my business every single day, and fasting, eating 1 meal a day. And that just became the normal. And that was my normal life. And I adjusted to that and I was fine. I wasn't more exhausted. I wasn't more tired even when I didn't eat. It was just what I was used to.
People, they see someone doing a lot of things and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I can never do that. But it's like, no. What you do for a long period of time, what was out of your reach becomes something that becomes the normal. It's normal to run a 3-hour run. It wasn't normal, but it became the normal, and that's important.
A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll dump their baggage on you, right? So what they'll say is, oh, John, you shouldn't run that much. You're gonna hurt yourself.
Right, exactly.
You're pushing too hard. Because that's their belief, and that's actually their reality. Yeah, if you did what John was doing, yeah, it would hurt you. You would be injured. But you built to that level. And so people filter it through their own lens.
Like, because right now, the amount of effort and work that maybe you could imagine that you'd want to do in the future or that you're trying to do now, it feels like a lot, but there's no limit, right? And there's guys that are way more badass than me. Take David Goggins, right? That guy, if you read his story and the kind of shit that he does every day, it makes me look like a wimp. And he just does that every day. It's just his day, right? It's just a normal day for him to do 1,000 push-ups and pull-ups and ride on his bike for 4 hours and whatever he's doing. I interviewed the Iron Cowboy. He did, 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 different states? Okay, that's insane. Full Ironmans? I can't even fathom that. But that became his normal day. So you will adapt to the workload. So don't think in terms of, okay, I'm pushing too hard, I need to rest. That's for the rest of the populace. It's for mediocre people. They live their life like that and they're like, okay, yeah, don't push yourself too hard. No.
With that said, there's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself, with doing something that you consider more of a recovery or downtime activity. Just realize you don't need it. And that's the key, is that you just want to do it because you enjoy it. And then I want to address one last thing. You said that nobody's on their deathbed saying, I haven't worked enough in my life. Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying, I wish I would have spent more time with people that I loved and all this stuff. It's because they're on their deathbed. That's why they're saying that. But in reality, they regret the things they didn't accomplish. They regret not pushing themselves, not maximizing themselves and becoming the best versions of themselves possible. They regret the opportunities that they missed. I'm sure they regret not living life to its fullest. And honestly, if you're just consuming shit and you're just having fun all the time, even if you're building great relationships, if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not becoming what you're capable of becoming, yeah, you're gonna be full of shit on your deathbed when you say, I wish I wouldn't have worked so hard. Bullshit. You wish you would have worked harder. You wish you would have become more, right? I don't want to be there on my deathbed. I'm like, fuck. My whole life, I never had six-pack abs. Never did it. Man, I don't understand. I thought there was gonna be more time. Man, my whole life, I never made $1 million. I thought that someday there would be enough time for me to be rich, for me to be wealthy, for me to be retired, for me to travel and to have financial freedom. Man, I never did this. I never overcame this fear. I thought there'd be more time in my life for me to get stronger, for me to build courage, for me to be ready to go into battle. We all have to tell ourselves a story. On your deathbed, you have to tell yourself the story. And the easiest story to tell yourself is to say, You know what? I wish I wouldn't work so hard. I wish I would have spent more time with people that I loved. That's an easy thing to tell yourself rather than saying, I'm this, but I could have been this. I could have been this, but I'm only this. My whole life I wasted because I could have been more. I could have been better.
Let's just play a game with me. Let's say you're God, and we have a big, long line of people, and I made it to heaven. I'm 75 years old. I'm 300 pounds. I made it to heaven. I worked for 𝗃𝗄𝗏 my entire life, spraying for cockroaches. That's what I did. But I'm dead. I'm in heaven now, and you're judging us all now. So we're in line. We're all sitting there in line. You have Adam Brown. He has a big board up, and you're talking to Adam Brown about his life. And you rip it down, and I'm next in line, David Goggins. I see my name, and I see all this shit, and God goes, hey, you say, read this, man. And I'm reading this list, and I'm seeing 182 pounds, Navy SEAL, Ranger School, motivational speaker, changing lives. Okay, man, pull-up record, all this shit. And I'm like, that's not me, man. And God looks at me and says, that's who you were supposed to be.
Hey, if you're still with me, I know you want to get to the next level. If you're not sure where to start, just check out this technique that I used here to literally quadruple my productivity. I'll see you over there.